we doing? How we feeling? We are back, baby! Oh, goodness. I was gonna say we have one more Cove moment, and then we won't see him until his ending, and then we'll see him one more time for his wedding. That's wild. It's really weird to think by the end of September we're gonna be done with this, like done with the whole thing. I am shook. Jeez. I'm gonna miss these boys. I love them. As I spill stuff all over me. It's fine. Thank you for the hydrate. I appreciate it. Let me open this up real quick. I was sneaking in a sip of apple juice. But we'll do actual water now. Okay. Oh, my sweet baby angel. We love the ocean boy. He's fucking iconic. Most of the characters in this game are iconic, honestly. I'm really curious to see what this happy moment is. I want to see. Give me the happiness. We all need a little bit of happiness in our lives. Okay, y'all, buckle up. Last Cove moment. The day and the week were nearing their end, and you were welcoming it in your own way, by lying sprawled out on your bed. It was quiet in your house, getting to that time of the night where you really should be sleeping, but you didn't feel tired at all. You rolled onto your side. Outside, the last lit-up window across the street blinked out, leaving the buildings on the block faceless silhouettes against a blue-black sky dotted by stars. Your phone came to life on the nightstand, a pale light cast on the ceiling of your room. Without looking, you threw your arm out behind yourself, groping around on the tabletop until your phone was under your palm. At that point, you lifted it to your face, snorting once you saw the familiar name attached to a short message just reading, "Hey." I was gonna say, this room's so cute at nighttime. I love this. It's fucking adorable. Let me guess. Cove B, hey, what's up? You awake? Cove wasn't much for sleeping now either. As you made a reply, though, more and more texts came through in quick succession. Hey, you like doing things. You like doing things with me. I mean, what I'm saying is that there are things you and I do and we like together at the same time. Now that was eyebrow raising. You propped yourself up on one elbow, sitting upright against the headboard so you could text more comfortably. What is Cove talking about? Why is he yammering? I'm confused. Ah, not wow, you got it all figured out. Not dang, you suck at texting. Oh shit. You're right about that. Wow, you got it all figured out. Yeah, I'm going with the wow, you've got it all figured out, because what the fuck is there a point to this? The typing indicator dropped off, and a notable pause followed. You snickered into the palm of your hand. It wasn't hard to imagine Cove red-faced and hunched over his phone in the dark, eyebrows furrowed as he tried to think of how to respond to your teasing. But ultimately, he didn't even attempt to address it. For what I was saying, you're free for a while, right? In the middle of the night? Oh, just in general, yeah, that makes more sense. I've got nothing big planned for the next few days. Cool, I thought so. I was just making sure. Alright. You could almost hear Cove's intake of breath as he prepared for the next part, despite the conversation being text alone. The window of your messaging app might as well have been a screenshot. You were left to keep track of the passing seconds with the rising and falling cries of crickets outside. When your screen darkened from inactivity, you wondered if you should do something yourself. I don't think Cove really needs a nudge, if I'm being honest. Like, maybe when we were younger, he could have used a nudge here or there, but. Yeah, no. I think I trust Cove to say what he wants to say when he's ready to say it. I don't think Cove needs our help on that anymore. I think he'll get there. As my hair casually gets ripped out in my headphones, I gotta cut this soon. My hair is too long for this shit. Yeah, no. You thought he'd get around to it when he was ready. You dropped your phone against your chest and closed your eyes. You wouldn't be able to see him, but it would be hard to miss the telltale sign of an incoming message. Even if it took a while, you were willing to wait. And soon enough, a reply came. I knew Cove would figure it out on his own. Plus, if I nudged, it might have, stressed him out. Like, I wasn't trying to make him feel pressure for whatever he's going on about. What if we did something new or sort of unexpected? Would you be okay with that? Something we haven't ever done together? You lowered your phone, leaning back against the headboard as you thought it over. The streets outside your window looked different at night, but you knew that if you were to wander out, there would be no chance of you losing your way. There wasn't a single inch of your neighborhood that you didn't know by heart. And everywhere you looked, from the grassy hill behind your house to the shops by the beach, you could recall a time you'd been there with Cove, mostly just chatting as you walked together. You didn't mind everyday things like that, but as for something new or unexpected, not what's gotten into Cove Holden to want to do something brand new. I'm gonna go with, what do you have in mind exactly? I'd like a little bit more information before I just agree. Some things. Cove, that's not helpful. Be more vague. One by one, Cove began presenting his ideas, starting off with attending a play. We've watched TV together and movies, but real people performing in front of us. We've never done that. I'm not sure what plays exactly are on right now, but that adds to the unexpected factor. There was a slight pause before Cove moved on to the next plan, visiting an aquarium. That makes sense, right? We go to the beach and stuff. We're pretty close to the water. but going to the aquarium would be water in a whole new way. The third and last idea was the one that was the most out of the blue. Ice skating. Ice skating? I agree. I'm so in touch with my character right now. I agree. What? It was a total wild card, as Cove was putting it, and the polar opposite of what the two of you normally did. However, it was fitting right in with the other options as something you had never done together. Let's say if hypothetically someone wanted to surprise you with an unexpected outing, would that be okay? You couldn't help but smile fondly at that, wondering to yourself who that someone could be. Ah, I think. Hmm. Yeah, I think you said it would be perfect if that somehow happened. If only a hypothetical someone existed. Great. Not that it means anything, but which one would be your favorite? It'd be. Hmm. I mean, I think all three could be fun with Cove. I think it'd be kind of cute to watch him fumble around on the ice skates. Like, I think that could be funny. Uh, Maybe a play? But Cove would love the aquarium, though. The aquarium feels the most Cove out of the three. I'm really about to just be like, pick a number 1 through 3 and have fucking something else pick for me. You know what? Sure. Why not? Pick a number 1 through 3. 3. Looks like we're going ice skating. Okay. You know what? That's good, though. Make it really out there. The idea was so out there that you couldn't not pick it, and it was a chance to see Cove out of his element, too. Alright, cool. Don't think too hard about this talk. It doesn't mean anything. I love him. He's so cute. Uh, uh-huh, sure. Yeah. Good night, Blake. It's really late now. Yeah, it is. Night, Cove. And with that final send off, you put your phone to sleep and lowered it with a sigh. I wonder what the hell got Cove randomly being like, let's do something we've never done before. Because that doesn't feel super Cove. I feel like he's very, like, stick to his routine, stick to what he knows, doesn't really, like, change all that much. But maybe he's grown out of that. Maybe he's learned that, like, sometimes change can be positive. Because, like, he was super bummed when he moved out here. But then he met me, and now we're, like, best friends attached at the hip forever. He started volunteering with, what is it, Orca? That was new, and he loved that. So maybe he's learning that sometimes change is good? I don't fucking know. I'm curious to see if it'll come up at any point in the moment. If he's like, oh, this is what I was thinking that led me here. You had no idea when Cove was going to invite you to the ice rink. but your mind was buzzing with all the possibilities the coming days might bring. Your phone went back to its place on the nightstand, and you resumed snuggling into the mattress, one hand thrown to the side and the other shoved under your pillow. Somewhere between this day and the next, you finally found yourself asleep. Ugh, bright. Very bright world. The next morning, after washing up from breakfast, you had just climbed the stairs to your room, ready to tackle the day, when you heard the ringing of the doorbell. You turned towards the sound, angling your head in confusion. Was someone expecting a visitor today? Is it me? Is it my visitor? My totally unplanned, unexpected surprise? Then again, you weren't even sure if anyone else was around, judging by the lack of footsteps you were hearing. You raced back downstairs to answer the door. As you pulled it open and saw who it was, you were only further confused. Cove? I'm telling you, it's my super unexpected, unplanned surprise. He was standing there with an unsure look on his face at first, like he didn't know who would answer the door, but the moment he saw it was you, a shy grin spread across his face. He raised one hand and gave you a little wave. Surprise! I knew it! Also, why is my character acting surprised that he showed up? He always just shows up. Yes, this hit thing. Don't do that. I love this one. This is a surprise. Don't you normally use the window? For real. You found it funny how you had grown so used to hearing him tapping that glass pane that showing up at your front door was what it took to get a reaction. Cove turned his head to the side with a considering lift of his eyebrows. I guess I do, but not today. I got you something. He slid his hand out from behind his back, holding it up in front of your face as he offered the present to you. Your eyes widened once you saw what it was. A rare shell. You hadn't expected a gift at all, let alone something as thoughtful as this. Taking one look at your face, no doubt a complicated mix of happiness and shock, Cove let out a laugh. Surprise again! Stop! He's so cute! I love him! Okay, the shell really was a surprise, though. It really is. Suddenly, Cove raised his head, his eyes finding yours and startling you into stillness. Would you want to go would you want to go ice skating with me? Wait, stop. Did he want to ask us out on like a date? 'Cause no, look at that phrasing. Would you want to go on? And then he backtracks and changes his wording. Does he want it to be a little ice skating date? Because that is so fucking cute. Him so shy and nervy. His voice was so soft and timid you involuntarily held your breath as you listened. He was blushing, but he fixed you with a hopeful smile, still meeting your eyes. I really think he was gonna try and ask us to go on a date, but then he chickened out. He was like, I don't have to call it that. We don't have to use that word. I thought maybe it'd be a fun trip to surprise you with. I'll love him. He's so cute. I'd love to. Him's such a sweet boy. Him's so thoughtful. With his big question asked and accepted, Cove raised the gift towards you again, gesturing with his other hand for you to receive it officially. You carefully took it from him. Yeah, let's look at all the facts real quick. Instead of using our window, he came up to our door. He brought us a gift. And he started asking if we wanted to go on and then changed it. So I really think dude was like, I think he was trying to ask us on a date, and I fucking love that. My heart's gonna explode, bro. Plus his little blushy face, like, dude is so smitten, and I love him for it. I'll put this somewhere safe, and then we can go. Cove had no problem with that. Still grinning, he stepped back, his body angling away as he waved a hand in the air. I'll get my car ready then. Meet me there. Okay. As soon as the door clicked shut, you dashed upstairs to your room, prepping a spot first for Cove's gift. Then, satisfied with your efforts, you grabbed your bag, tossing in whatever else you thought you'd need for the outing, before heading back outside. Cove's old car was parked right in front of the house. You went straight to it, hopping into the shotgun seat. As you buckled yourself in, Cove leaned forward to watch you with an eager expression, his fingers tapping the dashboard to a lively sort of rhythm. He was ready to start, but trying to tone it down so you wouldn't feel rushed. I love him. I'm glad we're doing this together. Me too. Once your seatbelt was secured, Cove checked his mirrors to make sure the street was clear before pulling away from the curb. And like that, the two of you began your trip. Where the heck are we going ice skating? It doesn't sound like the kind of thing that Sunset Bird would have. I'm curious to see where the hell we end up. Now that you were sitting down for the drive, it felt like a good moment to regain your bearings. You shrugged your pack onto your lap and began thumbing through your things to make sure that in your hurry to leave, you hadn't forgotten anything important. I'd say probably dressed normally, but packed some extra layers just in case. With the jacket stuffed in there, your bag had taken on a lopsided sort of bulk, awkward to carry around. You zipped it closed again, and Cove began to speak, raising his voice to be heard over the ambient noise of the car ride. So, ice skating. This is gonna be crazy. Having fun with water that's frozen? Unheard of. Other than everybody else that has snow days and winter and isn't us. Oh yeah, this does take place in California, so like fair-ish, I guess. I don't know what the hell winters are like in California. He chuckled at his own joke and you shook your head at him, though you couldn't help grinning at his silly comment. Who knows? Maybe in colder places it's the opposite that's weird. As you looked at him, you caught a glimpse of the back seat. It was empty, which wouldn't be strange any other day. You didn't bring a jacket? Nope. You know I hate extra layers, and there aren't any parents around to force me to do it now. Um, Yeah, your parents can't tell you what to do. You're a big boy. Cove gave you a brief glance, smiling. Thanks for understanding. So don't get me wrong, I understand that they're like out in California and Cove doesn't like layers, but I just be picturing him all like cozy in a hoodie and it melts my fucking heart. Like, but yeah, no, I got you, Cove. You laid your arm against the window, the scenery outside passing by in a blur, until finally you arrived at the ice skating rink. The two of you grabbed your things and got out of the car. A wave of heat so thick it felt like you were swimming in it hit as soon as you set foot onto the sun-hot asphalt of the parking lot. I think Cove would just be adorable in like everything, is my problem. Cove fell in step next to you, dragging the back of his arm across his face. You and Cove exchanged looks. Well, here we are. His tilted smile seemed to say. The skating rink was a large building of glass and concrete, with its name plastered in simple white letters above its entrance. The nondescript, flat rooftop style architecture reminded you a bit of the local mall. Ooh! You went in. As the door slid shut behind you, you heard Cove's sharp intake of breath. You glanced over at him, seeing the stunned look on his face, his lips drawn tight in a frown. It's really cold in here. Yeah, no shit, dude. I guess you'll have to change your name from Cove to Cold. Damn. Are you gonna be okay? Cove bobbed his head up and down, wrapping his arms around himself. It's fine. I'm fine. We're still gonna have fun. Don't worry about it. Oh no. He gave you a smile that was probably meant to reassure you, but it wasn't very convincing when he was speaking through chattering teeth. Oh no, the poor baby. Thank you for the hydrate. I appreciate it. Yeah. I don't think Cove fully used his noggin to think through, like, ice skating. Ice. Ice is cold. For ice skating to occur, it needs to be kept really, really cold. So, like, that's not ideal. But it'll be fine. I'm sure he'll figure it out or something. Not the chattering teeth. How about you? How are you feeling? So here's the thing. I would be cold, but I like being cold. I'm weird. I'm feeling just fine. There was no denying that the building was chilly, but it was a refreshing change compared to the sweltering heat of the parking lot. He laughed breathily. Did like Coke a lot. Didn't. Yeah, I get that. See, I would rather it be cold and layer up and be cozy than have it be so hot that I want to peel my skin off. Like, I get grumpy in the heat. I don't like it. When I get overheated, I get pissed. That's good. Your neighbor shuddered dramatically, almost retracting his head into his shirt in his renewed effort to keep warm. Not you shrugged, tough luck for him. Hold on to him to keep him warm. He needs help. you took a step towards him and wrapped him up in what you hoped would eventually become a warm embrace. For a second, his body went even more rigid, but he quickly relaxed and gave you a self-conscious smile. Thanks, Blake. I'm happy to. Always give him hugs. His shy chuckle shook through his abdomen. You felt it on the side of your body right before he put his arm around your waist and pressed you closer, an unspoken sign that he had no problem with it. Like this, the two of you ambled over to the rental counter together, a slightly awkward process that had you unsure if you were going forward or sideways. The clerk ended up giving you two funny looks over the top of her glasses as you went through the process of paying for admission and finding skates in your shoe sizes. See, I can't stand when it's that warm. I think 70 at max 75 degrees. Once you start getting to those high 70s, low 80s, I go, no, yuck. Too much. And they are so sweet. I love them. But throughout it all, Cove didn't shiver once. Eventually, you had your skates. It was a particularly well-worn set. Still sturdy, but where it had once been blue, it was now faded, and where it had once been white, it was now closer to tan. With some time and a low bench, you both were set up with the rented shoes and now stood by the opening to the rink. It was an oblong shape, surrounded by a paneled wall with railings. You were a little amused to see that there were others dressed in t-shirts and shorts, and you turned to Cove to point it out. The answering laugh that came sounded a little distracted. Well, here we go. Tentatively, he took one step out onto the ice. Oh, is he gonna fumble around like Bambi on ice? I could see him giving Baby Deer vibes here. The series of movements that followed were reminiscent of a jack-in-the-box swinging back and forth on its spring. You thought you might laugh, but it died in your throat when, for one heart-lurching second, Cove's upper body tipped forward at a 90-degree angle. His hand shot out, slapping against the ledge running along the plexiglass panels on the side of the rink. A relieved sigh left both him and you. He was mumbling to himself as he craned his head back. He must have caught the alarm on your face because he gave you a smile as shaky as his footing. I'll make it work. I knew it. He's fumbling. He's slipping, he's sliding, him struggling. Oof, Cove. You got this, dude. It'll be fine. Yeah. Never been ice skating before now either. So it's okay. We'll fumble like a couple of baby deers together, and we'll figure it out. It'll be fine. You came forward to join him, and maybe. Oh, I feel like I would be a hot mess trying to ice skate, just falling on my fucking face. Yeah, he barely moved a foot before needing to grab the side. With your hand splayed out against the railing, you searched Cove's face and found nothing but an understanding smile there. We'll both work on it? I love him. Yes, Cove, we'll both work on it. Yeah, it's kind of amazing we're seriously ice skating right now. But this is what we decided to do. I should stop being surprised over everything. Let's skate. You got this, Co. It's gonna be great. Right, let's do it. The two of you developed a cautious rhythm, drawing long, slow circles around the edge of the rink side by side. Neither of you were experts. In fact, it was hard to tell who was worse. Wait, no, why is this so cute though? I love this for them. There were no complaints from either party when the pace was kept slow, or even stopped entirely when one of you needed to grab onto the edge again. Despite how ungraceful of a pair you were, it was fun. White puffs of air released from you and Cove as you laughed and cheered each other on for the smallest achievement. There were also plenty of moments spent clinging onto each other for added warmth against the unrelenting chill of the space. Eventually, you noticed Cove exhale deeply. He was getting tired. You scooted up to him, ready to take another breather as he rested his arms on the bar in front of him. Hey, would it be alright to ask why you chose this place? What made it the favorite out of everything? It doesn't matter why, I'm just curious. Ah, I mean, I really did. I picked randomly though. I had fucking Siri or whatever pick for me. Yeah, I picked randomly. Cove smirked approvingly at your non-reason for making decisions. Then we were both being spontaneous. What made you want to do any of this though? Looks like it. You shot him a grin back. With a second wind coming over Cove, he was ready to get back out into the ice fray. You joined him without hesitation. The hours slid right past you, and just like that, it was suddenly time to call it a day. After returning the borrowed skates, Cove and you ventured back out into the California air. Even though the sun was almost behind the horizon, it was still palpably warmer than inside the rink. Cove rushed over to his car, his shivering hand clutched to yours. You let him pull you forward in his mad dash to the vehicle. Doors were opened and closed, seats were taken, the engine switched on, and heat turned to max. At that, Cove finally relaxed. Your foray into the freezing cold had ended, and nicely at that. They're so fucking cute. I love them so much. This shit is just adorable. I can't. A ways into the drive, Cove glanced towards your direction. You stretched your arms as you shifted in the seat, waiting patiently for him to say what was on his mind. So, I know this was unexpected, but thanks for coming along. Any trip with you is a good one. Really? Any at all? Yeah, of course. There was a quiet pause where you contentedly watched Cove. It wasn't hard to imagine the blush that was likely trailing over his cheeks. I love this one. This is adorable. Not these two awkwardly skating together. I'm glad. The drive continued in comfortable silence. Cove wore a content expression on his face that warmed your heart. I still want to know what made him decide to do this, though. What got him out of his bubble? Like, that's the thing I want answers to, and I feel like my character isn't questioning that more. I don't get it. Doing things like this with Cove, he made you happy. Your heart skipped a beat, thinking about how mutual the feeling seemed to be. Watching the passing scenery out the window, you relaxed into the seat. The time sped by. It wasn't too long before Cove pulled into his driveway. Sighing happily, you got out of the car while Cove came around to where you were standing. He stood there a moment, rolling a pebble under his shoe. I'll see you tomorrow? Definitely. Thanks. After that, you and Cove parted ways for the rest of the day. Even when you fell back into your normal routine, your mind refused to stop buzzing with the memory of your little adventure. As you crawled into bed and closed your eyes, you were back in the best parts of today. You hoped Cove's surprise would continue just a bit longer and continue into your dreams. After breakfast the next morning, you were sitting with your moms and Liz. While you were mildly listening to the conversation, the side of your face squished into the palm of your hand. The doorbell rang. Who now? Oh, I'll get it. I missed my moms. Mom passed by you to the front door. Your eyes lazily followed her. Then you turned your attention to Ma and Liz. They were still lightheartedly chatting. You weren't sure about what. Your focus snapped back when your name was called from across the room. Hey Blake, you have a guest. Be right there. On your way to the front door, Mom gave your shoulder a pat as she returned to the living room. When she moved by, you saw who was at the door. Aw, I love him. I mean, he did say see you tomorrow. It is tomorrow, so that's good. It was Cove again. A smile stretched out across his face the moment your eyes met. Oh my goodness, I love them. Hi, Cove, sweetie. Instantly, you looked over your shoulder to see Ma several feet away, but within eyeshot of the door. She waved. When you faced Cove again, he was looking at the ground shyly. It reminded you of the last time you had seen him the night before. Not him still being shy even though my family's known him for 10 years. Like, he gets all awkward when the attention's on him, and I love it. That was all the push you needed to step outside, closing the door behind you for some privacy. Hi, buddy. I agree, you coming to the door all the time is starting to get weird. For real, how dare you? Use the window. You realize how ridiculous that sounds, right? Okay, maybe it sounds ridiculous to anybody else, but you've been coming through my window since we were 13, so like 5 years. I'm used to the window approach, okay? It's not ridiculous for our specific situation, it's an exception. Yeah, I know. That doesn't stop it from being true. And you're the one who made reasonable actions unheard of. Cove's mouth pulled into a bent smile, and he shrugged. Then Cove chuckled awkwardly. He didn't quite meet your eye as he pulled out another gift from behind his back. He has more things for me? Wait a minute. What do you have now? Surprise! Wanna go to the aquarium with me? Stop, he's so cute. What? You blinked and then switched to staring at him in bewilderment. Cove's eyes narrowed conspiratorially. The real surprise was that I'm gonna invite you to all three places. You never had to choose only one. I just needed to make sure that they didn't sound completely terrible. Wait, no, he's so fucking cute though. The longer Cove spoke, the quieter his voice became. He shyly scratched at the side of his cheek. And to check if you'd be free. So, surprise again. I just want to squeeze him. I love him so much. This is adorable. I love him. He is so sweet. You don't have to do that. Cove's eyebrows furrowed together. He looked like he was thinking way too hard. I know I don't have to, but I want to. Is that okay? Slowly, a smile broke out across your face and you nodded. The tension in Cove's expression softened. Oh, do you like what I got you? Cove nudged the present in his hands towards you, hoping that you'd take it. Until now, you hadn't completely registered it. It was a carefully chosen ukulele case. Oh my goodness. I do like it, thank you. Cove relaxed at that. You smiled warmly and accepted the gift. I'm glad. Are you gonna accept the other part too? Yeah, let's go to the aquarium. It'll be fun. Elated, Cove bounced a bit on the toes of his feet. You could feel the happiness radiating off of him in waves. Thanks for coming. I'll be in the car. You can go get ready. Alright. He's so fucking cute, I can't handle it. You sped back inside and spotted your family still sitting around the table. They all turned and smiled at you. So, what's the plan for today? I'm going to the aquarium with Cove. That sounds so fun. Aw, I missed Ma. Ma's smile beamed. Your gaze slid over to Liz, and she also looked happy for you. I hope you have a great time. It didn't take you long to get ready and dash out the front door. Not him going, surprise, we're doing all three. Cove was waiting for you as promised, and you both set out for day 2 of his surprise outings. And this time, it actually was a surprise. You settled in fully for the trip out to the aquarium in the city. It would be a bit of a drive, but you didn't mind. You made an attempt to start a conversation. It's kind of funny we've never done this before now. Why haven't we? Probably 'cause I've never thought about going to the aquarium with anyone before this. Oh no, not Ace being a chair thief. Damn. See, that's when I just straight up move Yoda. I've accidentally taught Yoda that scooch means get out of my seat. Like, I don't know if anyone else has accidentally taught their pet things, but yeah. Because it used to be, it's actually shortened down to Scoot. But I used to say something like, scoot your boot or scoot or get sat on. And he learned to get out of my way so I could sit in my spot. Because every time I get up, whether it's for a drink or to run to the bathroom, Yoda takes my spot without fail. So I get having a dog that's a spot thief. Wait, seriously? You've never gone to the aquarium ever? Yep, that's right. Never. And not just this specific one either. I haven't been to an aquarium, period. That's wild! I feel like the aquarium is such a Cove place. Wow. I think I have gone. So not to an aquarium out where I am now, but where I grew up, I can words, I promise. I did go to an aquarium up there. But this is also in the city. I mean, I went to the Boston one. It's weird. I went to the Boston one for a field trip, and then T and I also went when we were on our trip for our honeymoon. So, this might be brand new for Cove, but you'd been to this aquarium before. You had more experience with aquariums than Cove Holden. That simply sounded wrong. Can I ask why not? I figured you'd have begged to go. Cove tapped the tips of fingers against the steering wheel, his face scrunching in contemplation. When I was growing up, my dad did try to take me. I'd never been before because I was so little. I said no. Whenever he'd try to talk about it, I'd tell my dad I'd rather go to the actual beach on my own. Or he could at least take me to the fish part of the pet store, but not the aquarium. Eventually, he didn't ask about it anymore. He must have figured I had something against it. When he stopped mentioning the aquarium, I stopped thinking about it. It just never came back to my mind. His expression shifted to one of bemused confusion. The thing is, I don't know what I had against it, if I did have a problem. Maybe I didn't like the idea of seeing water I wasn't allowed to go in, or to meet fish I could never bring home. That sounds like the kind of thing little me might have gotten upset over. Or maybe I just wasn't okay with doing a new kind of trip. It'd be to someplace new and with only my dad. Mom wouldn't be there anymore. I guess that might have made it seem not worth doing right off the bat. That's 8-year-old me for you. We love him actually, like, knowing himself, though. Like, the fact he can reflect and be like, yeah, it was probably XYZ. Like, I love that for him. I also just want to say, I think that this is a really cute picture of him, like, driving. Like, I like getting to see him at the side like this. I think it's cute. Cove shook his head with a pained smile. Then his tone dropped to a distant whisper. It was only when thinking about stuff I could do with you that I finally remembered I could go to an aquarium. Oh. He pulled his mouth into a bent smile and straightened his shoulders. He didn't want to bring the mood down. It all worked out in the end, 'cause I got to really surprise you with the news, huh? Yeah, you got me there. Good job, Cove. It was a long game if I've ever seen one. The conversation continued on with idle chatter about what you'd do when you got there. Then the large angular building, decorated with ocean-themed cutouts, came into view. You'd arrived at your destination. You hopped out of the car and headed over to the imposingly large guest entranceway. Cove's head swiveled around to let his curious eyes take in every view, and you weren't even inside yet. You could see the realization of what he'd been missing out on dawn on him in real time. Cove bounced on the balls of his feet as the two of you stood in line to get tickets. His excitement continued to build. Aw, it's so cute in here. I love this. I like the fishies. I like the aquarium. I think the aquarium is fun. When you finally were face to face with the tanks, you could hear Cove quietly gasp from your side. He briskly took some large strides to get further into the room and to get closer to the glass barrier. There he stood still. After taking a moment for himself, he whipped around to look at you. Cove was outright vibrating with excitement. His mouth opened in a large smile, but all that came out was tiny squeaking giggles. It bubbled over into full-on giddy laughter before he was able to speak in earnest. Each word was full of joy. It's amazing. I love it here. Oh my goodness, he's so happy. I love him. I love it too. He cheered back without hesitation. Yeah, the aquarium is great. The two of you wasted no time before rushing around the place. You went every which way across the aquarium. Cove was enthralled by each new sight, his eyes alight like a kid in a candy store, and a perpetual smile made its home on his face. No metaphorical stone was left unturned. He viewed all the tanks from his tallest of heights on tippy toes, as well as crouching as low to the floor as he could manage. Your exuberance was just as bright as his, buoyed further by how happy you were that he had found such happiness. You beamed. Thank you for the hydration reminder. Drinking water while I'm in an aquarium. Still have 5,000 points? Dang. I'll have to come up with more things for y'all to do with the bits. We'll figure out some fun stuff. I love this. Not that you beamed. After making an entire trip through the whole building, you and Cove finally slowed the pace down. You had arrived back at the original viewing room. It was a good spot for a break. Cove stood quietly near the tank in almost the same spot as he had when he first took in the view. Somehow, that moment already felt like a long time ago. You weren't sure if he was feeling the same way. Cove simply watched the watery world inside with open fondness. He wouldn't get tired of that view ever. You were certain of that. Him so cute. You walked up to stand by him, taking in the same otherworldly experience of having a sea right in front of you. Suddenly, Cove swallowed hard. Your head tilted. He wasn't looking at you. His eyes were glued to the vast ocean view in front of him. I know, this place is made for Cove. What's with the little wobbly mouth and the hard swallow? What happened? But his bright red face reflected clearly in the floor to ceiling glass pane, separating aquarium goers from the water. You couldn't understand. Nothing had happened. Then realization came. This was Cove. He was flustered because he was thinking about doing something. Cove always got that way when he was mentally building himself up. Oh, what him thinking about? I love Cove surrounded by these fishies. It's so cute. You nodded to yourself and elected to keep your lips zipped. You wanted to give him a chance to do whatever it was that he had cooking. So there's a lot of fish in here, huh? Yep. Cove, what is happening? My guy, I love you, but what is this? His mouth clamped shut after those vague, stuttered words. You could feel a tension growing. After a breathless pause, he spoke again. You know, if you were a fish, you'd be an angelfish, because you're an angel. I love him. He's so cute. Stop. Shut the fuck up. That was so worth him building up to that. Look at that goofy, dorky little smile he's got. Oh, my whole heart could just fucking burst at this man. Cove pressed his forehead against the glass with his eyes wide and gazed down as he fervently refused to even peek at what reaction you might be giving. He was blushing wildly, feeling unparalleled embarrassment over the line he just dropped. That was so fucking cute. I can't. My heart's gonna explode. Not him trying to flirt. Smiled adoringly while watching him. That shit was so cute. He was too cute. It was unreal. Ah. You had plenty of fish name knowledge up your sleeve to use for this too. I'm kinda curious what words I got. Well, if you were a fish, you'd be, not teardrop butterfly fish because you cry a lot. Not the clownfish. We can't roast him. This poor boy. So that leaves either Sunrise Guppy because you're my adorable ray of sunshine, or Diamond Tetra because you're a treasure. Okay, both of those are actually really fucking sweet though. He really do be a little ray of sunshine though. You know what? Fuck it. I'm going with the Sunrise Guppy because you're my adorable ray of sunshine. Oh, he's so shook though. He actually did it back. He was so worried. He was so building up what he was gonna say that he didn't even remotely prepare himself for what the response was gonna be. He's so shook. Look at him. He continued to speak after his initial exclamation, but it was so mumbled you weren't sure what it was. Cove had completely lost control of the conversation that he started, and he did not know what to do about that. Ultimately, he settled for turning his burning face away from you even more, as well as covering a cheek with a hand for good measure, leaving him speechless, had you feeling rather pleased. At that, Cove wanted to go around the aquarium again. He hoped to let it all sink in at a more leisurely pace while you were here. Plus, he desperately wanted more time to settle down after his latest big attempt at flirting. The two of you began your second loop down the paths. It took no time at all to become absorbed in the incredible sea life once more. There wasn't nearly enough time in a single day to satisfy Cove's desire to exist inside of the aquarium, but the day did have to end eventually. Despite obviously wanting to linger longer, Cove left the building with a skip in his step. It had been a good trip. The two of you shut the doors of Cove's car behind you as you took your usual seats. The clicking of seatbelts punctuated the end of the adventure. I would absolutely do that again. No kidding? Cove chuckled as he pulled the car out of the parking spot, spirits still as high as ever. They're so cute. I love them. The car ride home went by too fast. You and Cove were in good spirits and spent the ride chatting and laughing, bouncing around various topics. But you didn't ask the question that sat all day in the back of your mind. Why was Cove doing all of this in the first place? Thank you. That's what I've been asking since the beginning. Again, you both parted ways for the night in the neighborhood street. You watched Cove head inside with a quick wave. You were halfway to your own house when a familiar voice called out to you. Turning on your heels, you spotted Mr. Holden. He lightly jogged over to talk. Hey, how are you? I'm good. Great. I was just getting home from work. What are you up to? Or rather, what were you up to today? Me and Cove went to the aquarium. You did, huh? Sounds fun. It was fun, and it was also a surprise, which is weird since usually me and Cove not hanging out would be what sounds surprising. Crossing your arms, you gave a quick laugh. Mr. Holden frowned. He rubbed the back of his neck and studied you for several silent moments. Right, so... Blake, what's going on there? Something is going on, isn't it? Huh? Wait, what makes you ask? There's not a problem, right? I'll answer your question if you answer mine. Deal? You rolled a pebble under your shoe. Mr. Holden was probably the only person who could give you any solid insight to what Cove was doing. All right, deal. Couldn't we just ask Cove, though? Do we really have to go getting information from his dad? I don't know. I'm kinda suspicious. What's the story? The truth is, Cove's been doing a lot for me lately. Way more than usual. For 2 days in a row now, he's planned special outings and gifts too. I don't know why. Cove's father nodded contemplatively. He accepted the situation easily. That actually makes a lot of sense considering. Not, hey, is this some secret you shouldn't be sharing? I mean, is it? Feeling some tenseness, your teeth sank into your bottom lip. On the other hand, Mr. Holden chuckled. If it's supposed to be a secret, Cove's been awful at hiding it. He's doing it out in the open, so I don't think that's what he cares about. You tilted your head just a bit to the side as you watched Mr. Holden. You were honestly curious what his side to this was. As long as it was all right to hear, you wanted to know. There was a pause. He was unsure of what to say next, or how to phrase it at least. What's going on with Ocean Boy? Honestly, I've been the littlest bit worried about Cove lately. He's gotten really up in his head about something. But it's not exactly a bad thing. It's tough to know how to even bring it up. I'm not sure if I should try to have a talk about it. The longer he spoke, the wider your eyes grew with concern. There was more happening than a few meaningless hangouts. It's okay. He raised his hands in a calming motion when he noticed your reaction. Let me explain. I noticed Cove's been getting lost in thought more often recently, and he sometimes has his laptop out in the living room. He leaves it laying around on the couch or puts it on the coffee table. I have a clear view of it from there, and I can obviously see him looking stuff up on it. Cove keeps searching one phrase, and different wordings of it too. Then he'll spend ages clicking through the linked results. What? The line is, how do you make someone happy? Just that, again and again. How do you make someone happy? You had to consciously close your mouth after that. You didn't know what to even say after hearing that revelation. Mr. Holden gently beamed. Isn't he such a good kid? He's such a sweet boy. Him just want me to be happy. He continued, but his tone was rueful. Unfortunately, I can relate all too well to that conundrum. Who am I to judge, right? Mr. Holden shrugged in an exaggerated way to lighten the mood back up. Before I was thinking Cove might have gotten into a fight with somebody. Now it sounds like I was way off the mark. Cove clearly has other plans on the brain. I'm even more confused on whether this is something I should get into or not. Actually, I was wondering if you could have a little chat with him about what's going on. It sounds like you're at the core of Cove's sudden study sessions, so he might feel more at ease talking about it. Or more embarrassed, but he'd still probably do it. I would really appreciate it. Your gaze trailed over to the Holden residence. Mr. Holden made a very good point, you had to admit. I'll do it. Thanks. You're also a really good kid. You shook your head with a smile and started walking towards where Cove went. After a few steps, you realized that Mr. Holden wasn't following. You glanced back at him. I'm gonna hang out here for a bit. Make sure you have some space to talk without a parent in the way. The door is probably unlocked, so go right in. Okay. But you hesitated for a moment. Mr. Holden's smile faded. Thanks for talking with me. This has been on my mind too, and I think it'll be good to ask Cove if everything's okay. Agreed. It'll all shake out right in the end, I'm sure. Mr. Holden grew much happier than he was a moment ago. Feeling ready, you turned right around and went into the house. Hey, Cove was sitting on the couch with his aforementioned laptop open. He peeked up at you with a puzzled look and then it melted into a smile. I thought you were my dad. Did you forget something? No, didn't forget anything. Oh. Silently, you stared at each other. You were struggling to put together what you wanted to say next, and the conversation was growing more awkward by the moment. Okay. You watched Cove's bafflement increase inside. Why are you here? Cautiously, you asked Cove about his searching. Don't panic, but can we talk about something? Cove's eyes widened, fighting the urge to immediately panic at your seriousness. But he nodded. You tried to smile reassuringly. You could tell he wasn't convinced at first. It's not a problem, I swear. Okay. Cove closed his laptop and laid it on the couch cushion right next to him. He got up, shuffled past the coffee table, and stopped right in front of you. He spoke in a hushed tone, only hearable because of the new closeness. Are you all right? Yeah. I was wondering, well, if everything was all right with you. You've been making these big plans out of nowhere, and your dad mentioned you've been kind of distracted lately. I wanted to know, why have you been looking into how to make someone happy? He noticed that? Are you mad? No, I guess I really was distracted. I didn't think people around would actually be paying attention or taking note of things. He chuckled awkwardly at himself. Cove, will you tell me why you felt like doing that so much? Blake. Cove looked at you with large, earnest eyes. I did it because I want you to be happy. Stop, I love him. He's just so fucking pure and wholesome and too goddamn good for the world. Not that seriously. I'm torn. There are so many good options here. Cause yes, I want him to be happy too. You don't have to do some big expensive surprise. Just be yourself. Honestly, the top 3, Cove, you're killing me a little bit. I want you to be happy too. The words tumbled out of your mouth without a second thought. Cove's expression softened. I am happy. His gaze fell to the floor and he defaulted to rubbing at his arm. I wasn't trying to make you or Dad concerned. I didn't want to upset anyone. Sorry. Don't worry, no one's upset. For real, we were just worried about you, dude. Cove took a deep breath. You could see his expression lighten, but he was still lost in thought. What made you start doing all of this now of all times? Thank you. We're getting to the heart of the matter here. I wants to know. I don't know. With a deep frown, Cove looked back at you and repeated the phrase. Each time, the inflection was different, like he intended to say something different, but was coming up with the same non-reply. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know anything. He ran a hand through his hair, trying to understand his own own motivations. I guess maybe with everything that's been happening and everything that's coming soon, it's just kind of hit me that we're neighbors. After a decade it hit you that we're neighbors, there's gotta be more thought to that. A quick snort of air came out of your nose from his conclusion. Yeah? I mean, you've lived right across the street from me for 10 years. The only other kid who grew up in this whole neighborhood is your older sister. His weak smile bent. And then there's our parents. They sure were putting in the effort for the two of us to get to know each other. Cove shook his head with a laugh. His gaze was far away as he nostalgically reflected on the history you had. Basically, everything in our lives was set up for us to be together. It was always effortless. And why not? It practically went without saying that we'd be around each other, but it won't be like that forever. Our parents can't always be there to arrange things. We can't live in the little world of this street forever. Do I even know how to make it work when I don't have every advantage possible? I've made you happy in the past, but could I keep doing it? What even is it that I do that makes you happy? Cove started to run a hand through his hair again, but he stopped part way through. He looked at you earnestly. It was like breathing. When you're just going through life, you do what you're doing without even thinking. And then something reminds you that you're breathing, and you become way more conscious of it. Being with you is the same. I do what I normally do without pondering deeply on it, but now all this stuff made me start thinking about it. Then I couldn't stop thinking about it. I felt like I needed to try harder, to make an effort. For you, for the relationship we had. I had to, and well, that's what I did. Cove scratched the back of his neck. He looked sheepish now. It seemed like such a good idea in my head. It made complete sense, but maybe it was dumb. Absolutely throw your arms around him in a hug. He's so cute. Crashing into Cove, you wrapped your arms tightly around him and buried your face in his chest. You nearly knocked the air out of his lungs moving so fast, but Cove soon recovered and held you back. Stepping back, you took a deep breath. Cove shifted how he was standing and watched you bashfully. Cove, you will always make me happy, for real. An adoring smile grew on your face as you could see your words sink in. You hoped he understood the depth of your emotions. You make me happy every day. I care about you. I should be thanking you for everything you've done. Thank you. There was a pause where neither of you were certain who was going to speak next. Cove sniffled. Thank you, Blake. Thanks for looking out for me, even when I didn't even notice I was doing something worth checking in on. You're amazing. You're welcome. After your conversation with Mr. Holden, you really weren't sure what to expect. You breathed a happy sigh of relief now that things were a million times better. Cove chuckled. Now that everything was out in the open, his words were lighter. I gotta thank my dad, too. I can always count on him to be around. I have such good people in my life. He smiled softly. Cove withdrew a bit, looking shy. Can I Can I still show up tomorrow and invite you on the last surprise outing? That'd be just fine. I'm looking forward to it. You knew that you were smiling like an idiot, but honestly, you didn't mind that too much. You didn't mind too much. Spending time with Cove was the easiest thing to you, and the feeling was mutual. Cove watched you with earnest eyes. He simply wanted to spend time having fun with you. I can't wait. Alright, you should probably go home, huh? It's getting late and you'll need your rest. He looked at you, attempting to feign an innocent expression. I mean, if something just happens to happen tomorrow. You laughed as Cove grinned, acknowledging his poor attempt at subterfuge. Good night, Blake. Night, Cove. You rest up too. You headed to the front door, waving as Cove saw you out. When you walked out into the street, you noticed that Mr. Holden was still standing out there. He looked up at the sound of the door closing behind you, his phone in hand, and smiled as he sized up the situation. You were in there a while. I hope that's good news. Everything is fantastic. Great, glad to hear it. Everything truly resolved. You exchanged good night wishes with Mr. Holden before continuing the very brief trip home. Not wishing to disturb anyone, you quietly snuck inside and gently pushed the door closed behind you. As it clicked into place with a minimum of fuss, you let out a sigh. Your mind buzzed as you climbed the steps up to your room. Cove had done so much just to make you happy, and you knew he'd be back tomorrow with another big surprise. You want to prepare a gift to surprise him with too? Yes, do that. Cove had brought you 2 gifts already, and odds are a third thing was coming. It was time to turn the tables and have something ready to give to him. At this hour, that was easier said than done. Most stores were long closed, and Cove would be there bright and early to surprise you tomorrow morning. That ruled out purchasing a gift the way that he'd done for you. Luckily, you'd known Cove long enough to see a solution to this problem. Your neighbor was always a happy boy when he was given food. You were sure you could rustle something fitting that description out of the kitchen one way or another. Feeling invigorated, you spun around and sped back downstairs. It was time to put your plan into action. I think probably you could manage cooking mostly. You could figure out how to make something he loved. It then hit you. Your parents. Your moms knew how to cook wonderfully, and you could easily persuade them to give you a hand with this. It had to be done. You sized up your options. With an early start, you'd be able to pull together something simple in the morning. If you wanted to go for something more elaborate and time-consuming, you'd need to do it right now. Oh my goodness, please bake cinnamon rolls. I fucking love cinnamon rolls. Oh my goodness. I love Baby Cove. Even as a grumpy little boy who had just moved in, cinnamon sugar and frosting had brought a smile to his face. He was going to light up with childlike glee when he saw what you had planned. You located your moms in their room on the ground floor and explained your plight. You got a fair amount of ribbing, but they agreed to give you a hand. Ma even had a recipe she swore by that you could use. She flicked through an old cookbook full of clippings and swapped recipes scribbled on notepaper, and set to directing you and Mom like a real chef. He was such a little bean. He made the dough quickly, knowing it would need time to rise before it would be ready to roll out and let you continue the recipe. You strapped the dough into a bowl with cling film, hoping that the yeast would do its job. You needn't have worried. An hour later, and the dough had doubled in size, just as promised. You continued with the recipe, rolling out the dough, layering it with the cinnamon sugar filling that Cove had so loved, and readied the rolls for the oven. Soon the kitchen was full of sweet smells as heat joined the ingredients into one. As you waited for the timer, your mind continuously drifted back to younger days. You recalled the chatter of tourists and seagulls on the busy shopping street that had felt so vast when you were a child. Eventually, a beeping brought you back to the present. The rolls luckily came out fluffy and golden, naked without their white frosting coats. You'd whipped that up while they were baking, but you had to fight the urge to ice them right away. Until they cooled, any frosting you put on them would melt right away. Once you were satisfied that they'd cooled down, you topped them with a sufficiently thick layer of frosting. See, I always frost mine or put the icing on right when they come out of the oven so that it gets a chance to melt and get all ooey gooey, because I love eating them nice and warm. Personally. The teasing from your moms sprinkled into the process was merciless. They had no idea why you so urgently needed to cook for Cove, but it may as well have been the funniest thing they ever heard. Still, the gift needed to be just right, so you endured their good-natured jokes. When it was over, they patted you on the back. You dusted off your hands, satisfied with the job well done. With your mission accomplished, you headed back up to your room. You took the steps lightly, feeling buoyed as you imagined how happy Cove would be with your unexpected gift. Cove was working so hard to make you happy. You dearly wanted your friend to be happy too. You could only hope your efforts would work as well for him as his plans were working for you. You were up early the next day, ready and waiting for Cove's inevitable appearance. Your ears were perked, listening for the doorbell, but instead what you heard was a familiar rapping on the window pane. Oh, now he uses the window, of course. There was no need to look to know who that was. Only one visitor used your window as his personal entranceway. Getting up, you headed over to let him in. You gazed into your neighbor's face as you unfastened the window, opening it wide. He smiled at you, still crouched on the window ledge. Tired of using the front door already? For real. Cove's laugh was as airy as the cotton candy sold on the boardwalk. He was in good spirits. Surprise! I'm really keeping you on your toes. What will I do next? He waggled his eyebrows at the joke as you stepped back to let him enter the room. Today he clambered through with extra difficulty thanks to the object he was clutching securely. You guessed it was another gift. You waited for him to bring it up. Sure, he'd know that you'd seen it, and had probably reached your own conclusions, but he'd worked hard on his surprises. You wanted to play along. Cove smiled sheepishly as he held out the present to you. With a bit of flair, he spread out a stack of papers that turned out to be a thick pack of postcards. There were also strips of stamps. I thought you might be able to use them while you're out there in the big wide world. His eyes were trained on you, searching for your emotion on it. I hope you like it. Hug him! Always hug Cove! You threw your arms around him and hugged him tightly. Cove nuzzled your head, still holding your present carefully. Thank you. He chuckled self-consciously as he gave a long look to the meaningful gift he had selected. It was as if it was growing heavier in his hands. I really do support your goals. I just want you to know that. Yeah, I know. Then you accepted the thoughtful present into your own grasp. Only once he'd transferred ownership and cemented it with your approval did Cove straighten up and pull himself together. Okay, well, would it be alright for me to take you out today? We could, I don't know, go to the theater? He smirked, already anticipating that you'd say yes. Of course. His expression brightened further. That was exactly what he had hoped for. Thanks, Blake. You were glad to see how happy your acceptance had made him. But before Cove could whisk you away on another big outing, you made your own move. Your surprise would be better now than when you got back late that night. Actually, before we go, I got something for you too. What? Really? It was amazing how surprised he was. Cove had spent 3 days raining gifts and special trips on you, but he hadn't at all counted on you doing something in return. What is it? Stay here for a second and I'll show you. Okay. He watched you expectantly as you turned around to head downstairs. You reached where the cinnamon rolls were waiting and collected the prize. As you flipped back around to your room, gift in hand, there was a smile playing out across your face. Cove was patiently waiting where you'd left him, tapping his fingers against the sides of his pants. Surprise! He looked curiously, barely believing that you'd gone to the effort to select a present for him at such short notice. You handed the gift over for his inspection. His eyes widened as he saw the treat. I whipped this up just for you. Also, my mom's did help too. Oh! He blinked, the present totally taking him by surprise, but his eyes were alight with glee. You made me cinnamon rolls? I love them, though I don't get them a lot. They're not the kind of thing we normally have around. He glanced up at you shyly. I can't believe you still remembered. It's amazing. You chuckled, recalling those moments long ago that you spent together. How could you not remember days with a guy like him? The sentimental air was quickly dispersed as he scooped up a cinnamon bun and gracefully squished half of it into his mouth. Do you like it? I could take a guess, but it'd be nice to know for sure. Cove kept chewing, gesturing apologetically to his occupied mouth. Finally, after what felt like an age, he swallowed. It's so good. The best one I've ever had. Cove wiped his mouth with the back of his hand, now a little calmer after the initial burst of excitement. His feelings instead settled into an easy, warm affection. Thank you for this. It's so nice of you. You're welcome. His features softened, and you felt like you were being thoroughly appreciated. The food you gave was also getting its due attention. He'd already gone in for a second serving. You couldn't blame his indulgence. That said, the amount you'd given him was enough for several servings, far more than even Cove could usually finish at once. You'd made sure of it. But as he continued to devour it, you were starting to suspect that polishing it all off was the goal. In spite of the generous portion, he was willing to try and eat it all in order to show you how much he liked the present. You're gonna make yourself sick. After all, you were going to be in a warm car together very soon. Eating too much was a good way to spell trouble. Cove finished his current bite and let out a satisfied sigh. All right, I'll stop for now. There's other stuff to do, and I can have more later. You smiled at him, relieved that your gift could be enjoyed and not inhaled. You clapped your hands, signaling that your diversion had come to an end. All right, now we can head off for your surprise, too. Cove laughed. Yours was a better surprise for sure. It was a real one, but yeah. He grinned broadly, as if the exchange had fired him up even further. I'm definitely gonna take you out now. Cove offered you his hand. You welcomed it, always. You took his hand in yours, palm to palm. Cove squeezed your hand before heading out the door, guiding you along. Hand in hand, you wove down the stairs together, out of the house and into the neighborhood. Cove's car was parked nearby. He unlocked it, allowing you to reach your regular spot in the passenger seat. Yeah, I think everybody eats too many cinnamon rolls when they have them. This is so cute. I love this. Cove paused to put what remained of his present safely away before hopping into the driver's seat. He set off, beginning your trip to the third and final activity of Cove's grand happiness plan. So, when I looked it up, there were 2 shows we could pick from around this time. One was a historical romance of nobility, fancy outfits, drama and stuff. The other seemed like a modern-day story, something set near a lake and at a bed and breakfast with comedy. It's kind of wacky, I guess. What do you think? You pick. Me? Yeah, you. Which did you think sounded better? His face quickly grew red. Pretending not to notice, you waited for his answer patiently. I think the historical one sounded interesting. You thought it was sweet that he was shy about wanting to see a romance. You gave him a small smile. We can do that one then. I'm getting kind of excited. I wonder what it'll be like. I haven't seen a live play before. I've seen a couple small ones. I don't think I've seen like an official play. I've been part of a play before. I remember back when I was in high school, this kid that was a grade or two below me that was on my bus asked me to help this play he was doing that he agreed to do. However, he didn't mention he was also asking me to help him write it. So I got signed up for accidentally helping write a play and make a play, which was actually like a lot of fucking fun. I enjoyed it. That was cool. And then I did go see this one other. I'm gonna say I have. And I liked it. Your eyes shone with delight, remembering the dazzling lights in the grand stage. The theater was a treat you certainly enjoyed. The rest of the drive flew by, and soon enough you were at the theater with Cove by your side. Tickets in hand, you both went inside. Shuffling down the aisle, Cove found the right seats. You were getting settled when the lights began to dim. We made it just in time. Your voice came out in a whisper. Glancing at Cove, you saw him staring straight ahead, with eyes growing wider with intrigue. Then the actors started coming out onto the stage. The show set the scene, focusing on a group of wealthy families and the web of drama they entangled themselves in. And yet, despite the tension and chaos, two lovers emerged. Their swift engagement drew nothing but disapproval from their friends and family. You expected that there would be several trials before the lovers could reach any kind of happy ending. You became absorbed into the story and performances, and you weren't the only one. During the touching scenes, you could hear quiet sniffling coming from the seat where your longtime neighbor was. When the play finally came to a close, the audience broke into applause. Cove clapped for the actors until the noise died down. Then he spoke for the first time since the event began. It's over. Nodding, you followed Cove out of the theater. The sun was hanging low in the sky. I had so much fun. I can't believe what a good time that was. But really, I might have to come back sometime to see the other one. Cove scratched at his cheek contemplatively. I sort of thought it was going to be harder to keep up with what's the phrase? Suspension of disbelief. The actors were right there, putting on a show. I thought it'd be too much to believe it was really happening. But I felt more into it than with a lot of movies. I could totally picture the world they lived in. Amused, you nodded along and listened to Cove's animated commentary. I'm still thinking about it, even though it's over. Imagine if that was us. Attending high society parties and living in grand mansions. We'd have to deal with the rich and powerful, and the politics or whatever that went along with it. Our families would try to force us to follow certain paths, but we'd still find our own way to each other and to the things we want to do. He had stars in his eyes as he fantasized about the events of the story. Not that are you envisioning us being married like the couple in the story. I feel like he'd lose his shit. Why do I feel like I have to give him the little jab? Yeah, I just want to see him squirm about the joke. His face. You raised an eyebrow accusingly, but your tone left little room for doubt that you were teasing. The blush on his little face. Cove immediately averted his eyes. A deep blush spread from his cheeks to the tips of his ears. Fucking worth it. Thank you for the hydrate. We're just gonna enjoy poor flustered Cove for a second. He's just so fucking sweet. How can I not poke fun at him a little bit? And he didn't just blush a little, he blushed a lot. That shit reached his ears. Poor Cove. I love you, I was just joking. I mean, well, it's part of the story, but we don't have to. It can be whatever you want. Is that what you want? Stunned, you couldn't get a single word out before Cove began to backtrack. Wait, not him Uno reversing that shit and being like, well, do you want to be married? Goddamn. Sorry, I'm sorry. Don't worry about anything I said. A few quiet moments passed, and you noticed a distant look on Cove's face. He shook his head like he was trying to send a thought away. What is it? Trying to really picture a completely new life in a new place actually feels kind of weird now that I'm doing it. I'm not exactly sure how to explain. It's exciting, but also sad. I'm thinking too seriously about this dumb idea, I guess. But if I don't remember anything from this world, then it would be pointless that I had a life before. And if it did really happen, I probably would be surrounded by totally new people. I wouldn't have you with me anymore. Surprised, you sucked in a breath. Cove laughed shyly. The fun part of imagining it all was that you were there by default. Just getting to be somewhere else on my own wouldn't be nice no matter how cool the place was. It's settled then. I'll just have to look for you if I wind up having another chance at life or magically end up in some other world. I hope you'd try to find me too. Nervous, Cove's eyes didn't quite meet yours. His cheeks and ears were solidly red at this point. I love him. I'd find you, it's obvious. No amount of space and time can stop us. Thank you, Blake. In that case, it'll work out after all. Definitely. He took a deep breath and stretched his arms high over his head. He then turned his head to your direction and pointed with his thumb to his car. We better get back to our real world now, huh? It's getting late and I think we're the only ones still out here. You spun around, getting a good look at your surroundings. Cove was right. All the other cars that were out here after the show ended were long gone. How did I miss that? It surprised you how much you really lost track of everything for a while. You even failed to notice how dark it was until now. Come on, let's go home. After that, you made your way into Cove's car. He set course for your neighborhood. Your legs felt stiff from standing still and talking for so long, but it was worth it. On the return leg of the journey, you felt Cove lapse deep into a world of thought. Typically, even when conversation was exhausted, his eyes would flick to you occasionally, and you'd exchange smiles and other such gestures. This time, his focus was split purely between the road and the recesses of his mind. But as there was no sign of trouble on his features, so you were happy to let him mull over whatever he needed to in peace, the trip drifted by in a comfortable silence. Before long, you were back in the neighborhood. You each left through your respective sides, and Cove stepped around the vehicle to stand with you. Wordlessly, he gestured to your home. He was intending to take you there. Perhaps he felt the trip wasn't truly over until you were literally inside your house. You contentedly continued to go with Cove on his whims, and you went inside. Once under the light of your living room lamps, his eyes locked onto yours. Thank you, Blake. I know all of this was a lot, but I really did have so much fun. He grinned in an almost conspiratorial way. We really did it, this whole entire dumb plan of mine. I was happy it all became a reality. I hope you're happy too. Yes, I am. The smile he wore was small, even restrained compared to some of the grins he'd flashed earlier, but it was imbued with a calm, comforting contentment. In this moment, he was as joyful as you'd ever seen him. His next words escaped in a whisper. No one makes me feel the way you do. Stop, he's so cute. I love him. But he moved the conversation along before you had a chance to react to that admission. It had to be intentional. Blake, could I ask for you to go along with one more surprise? His voice was gentle, even as he implored you for a little more. The question itself was a surprise. Another? You could hardly believe that there was even more hidden up his sleeve. Cove chuckled quietly, nodding his head ever so slightly. A new one. I think I don't want to go home already. Not yet. And go back to our usual spots, sounding fantastic, after all this new stuff we went through. I'm not ready to let you go yet either. But I've learned you've got a weird definition of surprise over these past few days. Coming from you, a request like that isn't a surprise at all. You smiled brightly back at him. Yeah, you're right. I'm bad at surprises. What a surprise. The two of you laughed together over the silliness of this entire mini adventure Cove had concocted. Thanks for saying yes anyway. You walked down your usual path, side by side. You'd trodden this same path many times. By all rights, the novelty should have been long gone, but you found fulfillment in every step you took. You were sure you always would, with Cove supporting you along the way. Whether he was near or far, it didn't matter in the end. He would always be there for you. With this little plan of Cove's drawing to a close, you might have expected to feel a little wistful. It had been an exciting few days, but there was no need to yearn for what had gone. After all, you knew that the two of you would always find new ways to bring a smile to each other's face. It's what you both did, and you were looking forward to new surprises already. Okay, that was absolutely adorable. What a good Cove moment to end on, for real. Like, that was such a good one. Okay, save, overwrite save. There we go, I did it, hooray. That was so cute. These moments also always throw me off because they're either like an hour, so I feel like it's short, or it's just over an hour, so there's not enough time to try and do another one, or they go to right about where I need them to, or they go far past what I'm expecting. But yeah, that was really fucking cute. I appreciate y'all so much. Thank you for hanging out with me and being here. And yeah, I will see y'all later. We got Fortnite Friday tomorrow. We got Superhero Sunday. And then we get to hang out with Baxter for a couple days. And then our last and then summer ended. Damn, that's fucking wild. But okay. On that note, I'm gonna call it for the night. Again, thank you so much for being here. I do appreciate it. And as always, take care of yourselves, be kind to yourselves. It's hard being a person. You're doing the best you can. I am proud of you. And don't forget to live a life that pisses off a bigot. Bye, y'all.